Good evening. I'm Karla Fitch from Connecting for Kids, and tonight we're going to discuss how to find grants and other funding to help your child. Now, before we get started, I want to address the fact that this is an emotional process. I know a lot of parents have felt frustrated when they've been denied for funding. We can feel afraid if we know our child needs something and we don't know how to get the money for it. And it can be a scary process overall. Just know that through this process, our family resource specialists are here to help you, and they can walk with you hand in hand and help you discover different ways to find the funding that your child needs. As we go through the program tonight, we're going to look at 8 different buckets to find money. And we're going to start with private health insurance and work our way all the way down to fundraising. So let's get started with private health insurance. Your private health insurance is the insurance that you pay for usually through your provider, your employer, but sometimes can be purchased on a private marketplace. Usually with private health insurance, you're going to use that to cover your therapies like occupational physical therapy, speech therapy, mental health therapies, behavioral therapy, like ABA, and cognitive behavioral therapies. Another thing that private medical insurance can be used for is durable medical equipment, or DME. That includes things like braces and guards, mobility aids, speech devices, although not typically iPads, but usually a dedicated speech device. Some health insurance policies do include complementary and alternative medicine, or CAM. Complementary and alternative medicine can include things like chiropractors, aquatics, holistic therapies like acupressure, acupuncture. The best way to know if something's covered under your insurance is to call that customer hotline or member services number on the back of your insurance card and just ask, is this covered? Some of you may also have member brochures where you can look it up on the website and find out what's covered. Now, what do you do if you have health insurance, but they say, no, it's not covered? Well, one way some of our CFK families have taken care of this issue is by purchasing a insurance plan through the Affordable Care Act on what's called the Obamacare marketplace. This is available through the website healthcare.gov. And after an announcement from President Biden yesterday, the healthcare.gov site has reopened open enrollment for the next 3 months. So if this is something that you're thinking might be necessary for your family, you might want to check the healthcare.gov in the near future. Basically, what you're doing is taking that child who needs the extra services, moving them onto their own healthcare plan and paying for that privately so that they can get their healthcare through a different plan that meets their needs. Now, another insurance program that is available are the publicly funded insurance programs. One of these is the Children with Medical Handicaps, CMH. It used to be called BCMH, but now it's called just CMH. This is available to children who have a qualifying medical handicap. So, for example, epilepsy is a qualifying medical handicap. Depending on your income, this may pay for just the diagnosis of the child, or it could pay for diagnosis and treatment. And this would be available through a CMH certified provider. So you'd go to the doctor who is certified by CMH. You can find that on a website and say, hey, I'd like you to get me signed up for CMH, and they can help you with the application process. 2 other public insurance programs are CHIP and Medicaid, and those are both income-based insurance programs. So you have to have a certain income level in order to get these insurance programs, but they can help you afford health care if your income is below a certain level. All right, so we've worked through the medical insurance component, but what if it's something that's not really a medical insurance thing? What if it's something to help your child be successful in school? Well, that's when you're going to go to your home school district. Now, schools provide therapies to eligible students when your child is school aged, so between the ages of 3 and 22 years, and they have a disability that directly impacts their ability to learn. So, for example, if your child has a speech issue, and they're a little bit hard to understand at home, but you kind of still mostly understand what they're saying. If you go to the school and they say, yes, the child's able to answer questions, we understand what your child's saying, they might not get speech through the school. However, if your child has a speech issue and it's really difficult to understand them answering questions with a teacher, that would be a time when speech would be covered through the school. So how do you find out if your child qualifies through therapies through the school? Well, you're going to contact your child's teacher or their special education department at your school and request an evaluation for special education services. Now, I said it's for 3 to 22. What do you do if your child's under 3? Well, those therapies are handled through Help Me Grow, Ohio's early intervention program. And this is a program that your pediatrician can refer you for, or you can actually go on and complete a referral yourself using their online website. I have a link to that at the end of the program. And then you can get started with early intervention, who can help you get connected with services and therapies to help your child. All right, school district, let's move on to the next place where we can find some funding is through county resources. Now, every county has a county board of developmental disabilities, and children who are over the age of 3 who have qualifying diagnosis may be able to get financial support or family resource dollars through a program called NEON. To find out if your child is going to qualify for that program, you need to contact your county board of developmental disabilities and request an intake. And during this intake, they're going to complete an interview and kind of find out what your child's disability is and whether it qualifies. And then they'll talk to you about whether you're a candidate to use these family resource dollars. The types of support that you can use the family resource dollars for would be respite care, special equipment, like therapy items, home modifications, special diets, like if your child can only eat a prescription food, counseling, training, and education for the families, speech, occupational, and physical therapy. And then for kids who are ages 5 and up, you can get diapers, wipes, and underpads for hygiene issues. Another source of funding that you access through your county board of developmental disabilities would be a waiver. Now, waivers are a funding stream that can help your family with costs, and they're usually offered to older children and adults with DD, developmental disabilities. There's a significant waiting list to receive a waiver because there just is a lot of need out there. And there you can find a podcast on our website. I have a link to that at the end of the program. And it'll tell you a little bit more about the waiver application process and what that could mean for your family. Okay, the next option we can look at is scholarships. Now, in the state of Ohio, there's 2 scholarships that are geared toward individuals with disabilities. First is the Ohio Autism Scholarship, and second is the John Peterson Scholarship. Now, both scholarships kind of work in the same way. If your child has an IEP, then you can access this scholarship money, and when you access the money, you withdraw your child from the public schools and use that money to provide for their education instead. So it's not a both and, it's an either or. The Autism Scholarship is available to kids between the ages of 3 to 22. The John Peterson Scholarship starts at age 5, so that's from 5 to 22. The other big difference between these 2 scholarships is the amount of money. Now, the Ohio Autism Scholarship, you get the same amount of money regardless of your autism diagnosis. All kids get this X amount of money. It does change a little bit year to year, so I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but same amount of money. The John Peterson Scholarship is a little bit different. The amount of money that you get with a scholarship is going to vary depending on your child's disability category. So if your child has, for example, a speech diagnosis that isn't really, really severe, they would get less money than, say, a child with Down syndrome or autism who has a lot more needs to be met. So just something to keep in mind with those 2. Both of these scholarships need to be run through an authorized scholarship provider. So you need to find a provider who is allowed to accept the scholarships in order to educate and serve your child. There's information available on the websites, and you can actually do some searching on those to find different providers in the area. So there's a pretty good tool for that. And I think I do have a link to at the end for that one. Okay, that brings us to nonprofits and charitable foundations. And this slide has a picture of our website where we do have a funding guide out there, and we try to keep a pretty up-to-date list of the nonprofits and charitable foundations our families have used and had some success with. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. And it can be really difficult to navigate them. The best advice I can offer for helping to navigate them is to talk to our family resource specialists. These ladies are there, they know what has worked with other families. They've gone over the grants themselves to see what the application process is. They know their stuff. So talk to these ladies and lean on them and get them to help you navigate these. As you're applying for the grants, some tips to kind of get this process going for your family and make it a little bit easier. Number one is stay organized. I can't tell you how helpful it's been to just create a medical summary and a vision statement for your child. A lot of times the grants are asking you for things like what age does your child first walk? What age did your child first talk? What diagnosis does your child have? It's a lot of information that it's just hard to keep at the top of your head all the time with so much else going on. So if you have that medical summary, it's kind of just look it up and go, okay, I need to fill in boop, 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 and you're done. One place that offers a really clear form is Ohio GPS Guiding People Through Systems, and I have put a link at the end so that you can download their medical summary worksheet, and it's an excellent form to help get you organized. Another thing that I think is a great tool to help you whenever you're applying for these grants is a vision statement, and kind of knowing what your child needs and where your child wants to go. Charting the Life course is a program that families can use at any age with their child and kind of look at what their child wants to do and wants to be as they get older and what their child's goals are, and then use that program to kind of plot their steps toward those goals. So for example, my child wants to work in food service when she's older. She wants to work in a restaurant. And I know that there are certain steps I need to take in order to get her to an independent level so that she can work in that restaurant as she becomes an adult. And Charting the Life course is a way to help me visualize that and kind of organize that information in a useful way for me. So both of these tools were actually recommended to us by Amy Clausen of Ohio Family to Family. And she spoke to Connecting for Kids, I want to say about a year ago, in another topic on grants. I've put a link to the podcast with that topic at the end. You want to fast forward to about 36 minutes so that you can hear Amy Clausen's part. But she's a very wise person when it comes to getting organized and applying for grants. I sincerely say take a listen to that. The other tip I want to offer you about this grant application is that boilerplate is your friend. If you have a block of text that you just set it perfectly, and it's the kind of information that you need to communicate over and over again, copy that and save it in a Word doc on your computer. And then you can just, copy and paste it into your grants and tweak it a little bit so that it's ready for the next grant application. It will save you time, especially if you're applying for multiple grants, and again, help keep you a little bit more organized so that you can get this process a little bit more quickly. We're going to move on to another resource that a lot of families don't often think about, which is lending libraries. A lot of times our kids, if they're like mine, you can purchase a particular therapy item thinking that this is going to be the ultimate therapy item for my child, and your child is going to look at it and go, no, I hate this. I'm never using it. Forget it. And then you're out that money that you spent on this therapy item, and you're stuck with a therapy item. Lending libraries are a place where some families donate used therapy items. There are also lending libraries available through public libraries that they've purchased particular adapted items for library patrons to check out on their library cards. And this is a great way for you to try out a therapy item, see if your child likes it before you make the investment of actually purchasing it. There's a great list of lending libraries available through OCALI. That's the Ohio Center for Autism and Low Incidence. I put a link at the end so that you can get into there and click and see what's closest to you. I also would recommend checking out the Willoughby Eastlake Public Library. They have a toy library with a lot of adapted and sensory toys. Cuyahoga County Public Library also has an adapted toy library. Lots of great stuff you can check out there, and they can interoffice it between the library branches too, I believe. And then finally, Westlake Porter Public Library has free music therapy kits that library patrons can check out and do a music therapy experience at home with their children. Keep in mind that some of the libraries are suspended due to COVID, so you want to give them a call first and find out if they're open and if the toy library is active or if the lending library is active. All right, the last bucket of money that we're going to address today is fundraising. And this one's kind of a touchy one for a lot of families because it can be really hard asking people for money, especially people who are your friends. This type of fundraising, though, can be really good if you're purchasing a large or expensive item. For example, a vehicle modification or a adapted bicycle or tricycle. You can leverage those friends that you have on social media. And, in my case, a lot of my family members would like to do birthday gifts or something like that for my child, and they just don't know what to buy her. So I've actually had my family members contribute to an account for her that then we use to buy that larger ticket item. If you do go ahead and use a fundraising service like a GoFundMe or there's a Fund Easy or something like that, remember that they are going to take some service fees from you. Typically, these fundraising sites go from 5 to 8% of your total dollars raised, plus they're going to have an additional 3% plus 30 cents, which is a typical credit card transaction fee. So I wrote a little example. If you raised like $1,000 with 10 transactions, you would spend about $85 in fees on that $1,000. So just keep that in mind when your total balance comes in, that you're going to lose a little bit in fees. So let's close this up. We get into the resources section. This is some Connecting for Kids resources that we have. First, there's that how-to guide on our website, and it's a direct link. This is where I mentioned that all those grants are. So if you click through there, you're going to find the list of grants, plus you're going to find more details about each of the different buckets that I talked about today in this presentation. Definitely recommend going there and paging through when you have a little bit more time to digest all this information. I've also added the Changes to Ohio Waivers podcast. That's going to discuss the whole waiver application process and the different types of Ohio waivers that are available to families, and how to apply for grants. This is the podcast that Amy Clausen spoke in, and you can learn about some of the tools that she recommends in order to get your grant writing ready and to the next level. I've got a list of websites that I referred to throughout the presentation. I'm not going to go through them all. You're going to get this slide deck as part of the presentation follow-up, so you can click through those whenever you're ready to look at them. I've also included links to the different county boards of developmental disabilities that are in our service area. This is where you would go to ask for your child to have an intake with the county board and find out if you can access those family resource dollars or if your child may be eligible for a waiver. And that's going to conclude my portion of the program. I thank you for joining me tonight, and we'll open it up for question and answer. Thank you.